So all breakups aren't the same. And if you've been through multiple breakups, you probably already know that. But then there are some that are way more painful than others. And one of the more painful ones is if you've been in a relationship, especially one that's lasted a longer amount of time, and it's with somebody that you just always believed would never leave you. It's almost like a punch in boxing. Boxers know it's the punch they don't see coming because they don't know how to roll with it. They don't know how to brace for it. So when it catches them like an uppercut or a hook coming from the side, that's the one that'll lay you out the most. Well, your heart is in a lot of ways the same way. When you don't see that a breakup's coming and you really have this sense of certainty that they're going to be in your life, you have a strong sense of confidence in the past and the present, then of course you're going to have it for the future, and now it's gone. When they take it away, it doesn't just rattle you in the present, it rattles your past. What I mean is, even when you remember the good times, suddenly the good times in the past must not be to them what it meant to you, or they'd still be with you. The present is a mess, the future is ruined because they're gone. And not too long ago, you thought you had a solid sense of your life. You had a solid sense of reality, what the past, the present, and the future looks like. And now it's just all in shambles. It can also be worse, not only if you don't see it coming, but if you were in the, just for lack of a better phrase, and forgive me, this isn't a great phrase, but if you're used to being in the power position, if you were the one that you kind of felt like, even if you never said it out loud, but you kind of felt like they considered themselves the lucky one to be with you, they were the ones that pursued you. Or maybe you asked them out first, but quickly they fell in love with you first. They fell in love with you deeper. They fell in love with you more intensely. So that kind of, in a way, it might have emotionally spoiled you and made it really easy for you to close your eyes and imagine that they'd never walk away from you because they kept telling you how grateful they were to be with you. Maybe they had even insecurity at the beginning. They were showing that jealousy, showing that they were afraid ultimately that you didn't care enough about them to choose them, to stick with them. Maybe they pushed for you to move in, to get engaged, to get married, to have kids, something like that. If you've been in the situation, you know what I'm talking about. Somebody's watching this video right now going, yeah, that was me. And now that that person's gone, it's not just the end of the relationship, it's the shock of it. And when you're with somebody that for a long time you thought would never leave, one of the things they did is give you a consistent sense of value, a consistent sense of worth. And if you were in that power position, it was like they were always in a little bit of pursuit of you. So even if you don't know it, they were changing how you viewed yourself when you were with them. So one of the things I like to point out in a relationship like this, when they leave, you not only fell in love with them while they were with you, you fell in love with the version of yourself that you felt like when you were with them. And when they leave, they don't just take themselves. In a weird way, they take that best version of yourself. And it's hard for you to remember how to feel that way. It's hard for you to see yourself in that light. Because one of the aspects of falling in love and being with somebody for a long period of time is, unless you're a psychopath or a narcissist, you have like empathetic vision. In other words, you start to see things through their eyes. Like I could walk into a store, I could watch a movie, I could watch some kind of a situation unfold in public, and I can tell you how my wife would react. I could almost give you word for word what she might even say in most situations. In other words, I instinctively learned to kind of see life through her eyes. One of the main things that I see through her eyes is myself. So if she were to leave me, even though I know who I am, I know what I believe, I know what I stand for, I know what my opinions and my convictions are, but if she left me and rejected me, all of a sudden, instinctively, at a very deep level, I'm seeing myself through the eyes of somebody that I've grown to trust would love me for a long time. And now I'm seeing myself through the eyes of somebody that rejected me. That's not just a rejection. That's a rejection from somebody that knows me. That's harder for me to just dismiss. Even if I have a strong sense of who I am, it's going to rattle me to my core. So that's why I'm making this video. Like I said, not all breakups are the same. Some of the more painful ones involve when the person that you really thought would be grateful to be with you forever and showed it leaves you. It leaves you rattled. What you're going through, rattled isn't a good word for it. Shaken to your core. Maybe even shaken to a point that you don't understand. Maybe you're used to being that confident, strong personality, and even you don't understand how you can be so shaken by this. So if you're going through that, this video is to try to help you understand what you're feeling. It won't take away all the pain. But when you have pain, and this is one of those situations where the pain is this high, and your understanding of the pain is this high. So if somebody even asks you what went wrong, you might say, I don't know. Or you'll probably make the assumption, I think I just took them for granted for too long. I think I didn't pay attention. I didn't let them know how much they were worth. It was my fault. Usually you're going to flood yourself with blame if you're in a situation like this, because you'll look at it like, well, this is the person who didn't just want me and love me. They really wanted me and they really loved me. So I had to have done something serious, something significant, something almost inexcusable to move them from being hopelessly in love with me to not wanting to be with me at all anymore. That's got to be my fault. That's a really natural and strong assumption. It's not necessarily the case. But again, it makes your pain on a scale of 1 to 10 is like 1,000. Your understanding of that pain is like a 2. Anytime your pain is so much greater than your understanding of your pain, it creates a traumatic response. It can trigger a part of your brain called the anterior cingulate gyrus to actually lock onto the topic of that relationship, and you'll find yourself unable to change the channel in your own mind. You're just topic locked. It's almost like, I call it a mind worm. You just can't get the thought of them out of your head. It torments you. And you might be a really strong, exceptional person, but you're flooded with so much pain that you don't even recognize yourself. So this video is to kind of help raise the understanding to the same level as the pain. That'll actually help bring that pain down. I hope that makes sense. I know that's kind of a weird way to articulate it, but when this kind of thing happens to you, it's not always your fault. Now, some people are going to want to turn off right then. Just hear me out. Just because they loved you so much and wanted you so much, that doesn't mean that you broke it. That doesn't mean that you caused it. After a breakup like this, one of the first things you want to try to do is understand, is this a natural breakup or is this a toxic breakup? In other words, if it's a toxic breakup would mean, did you do something toxic? Did you do something that not just a mistake? Like, again, using me and my wife as an example, we get in arguments, we get in fights, we have conflict. That's part of any meaningful, authentic relationship. But we don't do unreasonable things to each other. She's never like walked in and caught me like hitting on her aunt or abusing the dog or stealing money from the account and paying off online prostitutes or anything like that. I don't do anything that would encourage handcuffs, a lawyer, or sworn testimony from somebody else. Same thing for her. So when we have conflict, it's what you would call natural conflict, and we know how to navigate through those moments. And if it is somebody that left that you didn't think was going to leave, one of the things that's going to trigger is an instinctive sense that you caused it. Like I said, because you never thought they'd leave, if they left, then it's a really natural, strong reaction for you to blame yourself. Sometimes that's the case, but sometimes it's not. One of the first things you want to do is take an honest look at yourself and ask yourself, did I legitimately cause it? What did they tell you when they broke up with you? Had they been telling you that for a long time before they broke up with you and you just decided that they were always going to be there, they couldn't do any better than you, they knew it, you knew it, so you didn't need to change. If they kept trying to tell you what they needed and really tried to articulate it, not just surprise you with it, but really tried to tell you over and over again, and you just didn't listen, then chances are you did cause it. And what you're feeling now is the shock of what you thought would never happen happening. Now, you already know that, so I'm not just trying to beat you up with another truth. But even if that's the case, take a deep breath. Don't give into that temptation that tells you, well, if you caused this, and the whole time they've been with you, they've been trying to tell you what they needed. They've been trying to tell you what they wanted. They've been trying to get you to commit, but you wouldn't listen to them. You're going to feel this strong belief, this almost instinctive compulsion to prove to them how sorry you are. Just for an example, let's say that you've been dating this person 2.5 years, and they started telling you a year into it that they really wanted you to commit to them more. They really wanted you to spend time with them. They wanted you to stop drinking, whatever it is. They were telling you what they needed, and for whatever reason, you decided they didn't need it. You decided you weren't going to do it. So you took them for granted. You didn't think they'd ever actually kind of take a deep breath and walk away from you. So if that's the situation they walked away, your guilt, your hurt, your shame, and your regret are all going to flood you and make you think that you need to not only apologize, but you need to prove your remorse. You need to prove your repentance from the mistake of not listening to them by not only apologizing and chasing and pleading, but if they tell you that it's not enough and it's too late, you're going to tell yourself, well, they fought for me they were with me for 2.5 years. They tried to tell me what they needed for the last 1.5 years. So even though I've apologized, even though I've tried to take accountability for it, I need to prove that I'm sorry. You get this instinct to prove your regret, to prove their worth, because you're looking at yourself through their eyes now in a different way. And you see that maybe you were a jerk. Maybe you did cause this. Oh no, what have I done? Just apologizing isn't enough. I need to plead. I need to chase. I need to beg. I need to tear my clothes and gnash my teeth, whatever that means. You need to show through your pain and your pursuit, even while they're telling you no. You look at that as your evidence to them that you really are sorry. That'll work against you. It doesn't work. It actually kind of paints you in a different light. It shifts you from the person they saw in the beginning as so high value and so high worth to actually drain the attraction they feel from you. So your guilt, your regret, your shame, your remorse, your fear of loss, just your own self-loathing will kind of instinctively sign you up to take an emotional beating for a long time. And that emotional beating comes in the form of you begging, pleading, and chasing. The problem is the more you beg, the more you plead, the more you chase, the more you actually reframe yourself as being not strong enough to actually trigger reattraction. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big believer. Take accountability. If you took them for granted and you didn't listen, of course own it. Articulate their pain, though. Don't articulate it from your point of view. Don't say, please don't leave me. This is so painful. I didn't see it coming. You promised you'd love me. I promise I'll change. Give me one more chance. Everything I'm saying there has to do with my pain. If this is the situation you're in, it's good that you apologize. But when you apologize, don't act like your apology guarantees you or justifies you getting another chance. Own what you did, but articulate it from their point of view. One of the things that draws people closer to you instinctively is anytime you can articulate their pain better than they think you can. Better than they, maybe sometimes better than they know how to articulate it themselves. Don't let your regret flood you and take you over so that your main message is your pain and your sorrow and your regret, because truthfully, that's your problem. What you need to articulate is the reason they left you, which is their pain. Their pain isn't, I'm so sorry, I miss you so much, this hurts so much, give me one more chance, I know I can make you happy. It sounds more like, I don't blame you. I understand why you left. I should have listened to you. I remember you telling me, and I remember deciding that I wasn't gonna give it to you. I remember deciding that I wasn't gonna change. I thought that you were wrong. I thought that I wasn't gonna listen. I wasn't gonna let you tell me what to do. I wasn't gonna let you rush me, and I took you for granted. I was so self-absorbed that I didn't even think about your needs. And truthfully, I don't blame you for leaving, and I can't tell you I deserve another shot. I can tell you I'm sorry. I can tell you I'm going to learn from this. And I can tell you I'm going to be a better person for the next person I'm with. I wish that was you. You deserve for it to be you. But I understand why you're leaving. And if that's what you feel like you need to do, I understand. It hurts, but I understand. When you say it like that, it lets them know that they are heard. You are understanding them finally, especially if you're not good at articulating their pain. If in the course of the relationship, there weren't a lot of times when you actually agreed with them or understood their perspective or understood their pain because maybe you were more argumentative, maybe you always had a reason to counter their reason. If you were like that and you took them for granted, it's going to catch them off guard when you not only articulate your pain, but you articulate their pain, their understanding, and you're not attaching a constant source of payback, and you're not attaching a constant plea for them to come back to you. If I apologize to somebody for something I got wrong, but at the end of the apology I'm asking for something, what's the normal human reaction to that? Oh, well, he's apologizing because he wants this. That's the catch. But most of the time, if you do that, they're going to think, well, they're only apologizing now because they lost me. They're only apologizing now because they never thought I would leave. This is more about their ego than about them actually caring about me and my heart and my hurt. So a lot of times it'll actually intensify and strengthen their resolve to leave you. It works much better if you own the mistake, articulate their pain, and don't attach an insane or a constant or a desperate plea to try to win them back. The more you chase, the more you throw apology after apology, the less the apologies mean. In our desperation and our hurt, we think, I made this big of a mistake. I apologized once. Well, the apology doesn't match my mistake. So let me apologize. Let me match my mistake with my apologies. Let me match my mistake by me throwing away my dignity and throwing away my pride and just begging and pleading and chasing and making one promise after another. It doesn't work. It doesn't convince them that you really understand, and it doesn't project strength. And to reattract somebody, you're still going to need to project strength. People don't go back to somebody just out of pity. And even if they came back to you out of pity, that's not the long-term solid foundation to hold a relationship together. Pity, sympathy, and guilt are not good reasons for somebody to come back. You don't want those to be the reasons for somebody to come back. You want them to come back because they want to be with you. So you still have to project some of the strength that drew them to you while also projecting a sincere regret, an apology for the pain that you ignored or the pain that you caused. Another aspect of this that gets lumped into this, and this is one of the main reasons I wanted to make this video. In this situation, a lot of times, the person that was being left, the person that's being broken up with, the person that was actually in that power position that I'm talking about, a lot of times they didn't actually cause the breakup, but they think they did because the person that's breaking up with them has always been so in love with them and has always been so insecure about losing them, so grateful to be in the relationship that it's a very logical, instinctive assumption to make that if they went from loving me this much to loving me this much, I must have caused it. I must have broken it. And here's the problem. If you're an authentic person, if you're a good person with a good heart, good intent, true intentions, and somebody else breaks up with you or wounds you, emotionally rejects you, your instinct isn't going to be to blame them. That's the instinct of a narcissist. The instinct of a good person, if somebody tells them that they're not a good person, is to trust that they're not a good person. A good person, even if they didn't cause the breakup, will stop and think, well, I don't think I caused it, but I must have caused it. And anytime you're an honest, sincere, intelligent person trying to take a sincere look at yourself for your flaws and your mistake, you'll find a long list of them. Like right now, I really try to be a good husband. I love my wife very much. I don't want to lose her, and I don't want to take her for granted. But if somebody told me, if she came to me right now and said, Ken, you haven't been a very good husband, it would hurt me, it would confuse me, and instinctively I might say, but wait, that's not true. But right after that, I'm going to think, well, I trust her. I love her. If she's telling me that, and if I'm an authentic person knows they're a broken person. A sincere person knows that they're a flawed person. And when you're in pain and somebody tells you that it's your fault and somebody rejects you, that sincere good person is going to take a look at themselves and find sincere flaws, real mistakes, legitimate choices, legitimate moments that they were wrong. And they'll convince themselves, they'll start compiling the list. Like sometimes I'll talk to a client. I talked to somebody not long ago. They were with somebody for 2.5 years. And it was a very similar situation that I'm describing. It's part of the reason why I'm making this video. And when they were broken up with, when they were rejected, this sincere good person took a long look at themselves. And because they were intelligent and authentic, they took a long look at themselves and they came up with a long list of things that they got wrong. That doesn't mean that they caused the breakup. It just means that anytime you're sincere and you take a deep look at yourself, you're going to find flaws. And if you don't find those flaws, then you're not a good person. You're a narcissist. There's no such thing as a perfect person. There's no such thing as a perfect spouse or somebody perfect in a relationship. So sometimes a really good person is being rejected and they didn't actually cause it, but they're assuming that they caused it. So a lot of times I'll have somebody say, I know, but I really did do it. Well, what did you do? Well, I was really trying to succeed at my job because we were in debt. So I was working hard, and I know they wanted to go do this. They wanted to buy that house. They wanted to send our kids to this college. They wanted to buy that car. So in order to do that, I was having to work a lot. I was trying to get us out of debt, or I was trying to get the business off the ground. And they kept telling me I was working too hard. And I tried to adjust my schedule, but sometimes I just couldn't. An example like that's not his fault. Now, if he said while I was working and not making any time for my family, I was also sleeping with my secretary, and we didn't need the money. We were doing fine. And she wanted me to go to her dad's funeral, but I had a chance to close another deal. I didn't need the deal, but hey, it's always good to have more. So I ignored her father's funeral and I went on a yacht party. You see the difference. But sometimes we can get in such a rush to win that person back, and instinctively, we don't want it to be their fault. Again, if you're that good person who lost somebody that you didn't think you were going to lose, there's a part of you that doesn't want it to be their fault. If it's their fault, that's harder to fix. If it's your fault, you can own it. You can take accountability. You're used to owning your mistakes if you're a good person. So it's a chance for you to actually prove who you are, prove how much they mean to you, prove how much you love them by owning it, even if you didn't cause it. So take a deep breath and really take a sincere look at yourself through a merciful lens. I'm sure you made mistakes, but you finding mistakes isn't evidence that you caused the breakup. Especially if that other person broke up with you with a third party involved. If somebody else came into the picture, or that third party or that person broke up with you that you never thought would leave you right when you're ready to give them what they always wanted. A lot of times that's a sign of something else going on. A lot of times, and it's funny, I guarantee people are watching this video saying, wait a minute, that is me. They were after me for a long time. They were the one in pursuit. And we were together, but I wasn't really at the same level they were at until we'd been together for a while. And then just when I decided, hey, I'm ready to commit. I'm ready to give you the ring. I'm ready to buy the house. I'm ready to move in. It's funny, but right after I gave them what they wanted, that's when they broke up with me. And they'll still convince themselves, I guess I waited too long. I guess I didn't realize what I had until it was too late. It's confusing because she said yes when I proposed and we were going to move in, or we did buy the house. But right after that happened, they broke up with me. A lot of times that's a situation that doesn't mean you actually caused it. Sometimes that other person can have that reaction because catching Prince Charming or Princess Charming actually, in a weird way, on a subliminal level, actually kind of projects weakness. One of the pillars of limerence is uncertainty. Sometimes if an insecure person is in a relationship with somebody that they've idealized or saw as the perfect person for so long, when that perfect person actually starts returning affection and devotion and commitment to the same level as the person who's been chasing them, in a weird way, that actually triggers to the other person, sends a signal that, well, maybe they're not amazing. As weird as it sounds, it happens a lot. that somebody's attraction is based on the idea that the person they're after or the person they're with is actually out of their league. When you actually commit to the same level and return the same level of devotion and affection, in a weird way, you're proving that you're not out of their league. You're not too good to be true. And then it becomes easy to take that person for granted because it knocks you out of the pursuit mode. You're no longer in pursuit because they're willing to give you everything that you wanted. Moving from the pursuit mode to the, now let me stop and hyperanalyze if this is actually the person that I want. Sometimes giving the person that's been so in love with you for so long, sometimes giving them the life, the dream, and the commitment that they were after actually triggers a loss of attraction, actually triggers some anxiety, triggers this hyper-analysis of who you are. Well, it's one thing when I never thought it would catch your heart completely. Now that I've caught your heart completely, do I even want to be with you? Maybe you're not the one. Maybe I'm rushing into this. So their ego kind of gets overinflated. How they see you gets altered a little bit. And now you're not this exceptionally hard to replace, out of my league, too good to be true person. Now you're just a person. You're willing to be with me as much as I'm willing to be with you. As weird as it sounds, that can actually trigger a drop of attraction. Again, one of the pillars of limerence is uncertainty. So as soon as you commit and the other person believes you, it can actually knock part of that attraction out from under you. So it's kind of a horrible thing about human nature, but it's supposed to be that at that point you've gotten to know each other well enough that you have something more mature to stand on. So limerence was never meant to be the foundation of a long-term relationship. It's supposed to be the launching pad of a meaningful relationship, but it's not going to be the gas that sustains you through the whole trip. This is also the kind of relationship that can really trigger what they refer to as rejection-sensitive dysphoria, or when your mind locks. Because you didn't see it coming, your reality seems shaken to the point that, especially if you're a gifted problem solver, or if you're somebody with ADHD, which is an attention dysregulation, it's not an attention deficiency, it's an attention dysregulation. So high-end problem solvers or people with ADHD, when they go through an emotional crisis, that gifted level of focus or hyperfocus kicks in. So it starts to really torment you. That's another aspect of losing somebody you didn't think you would lose. That's an emotional crisis. That's an emotional trauma. So it can make that gifted mind really lock in. And all of a sudden you're in a lot more pain than you've ever felt before in any other breakup. The pain itself convinces you that you broke it. If you're in that much pain, a natural reaction to that is thinking, well, if I'm hurting this much, it means I'll never love anybody the way I love them. Your pain becomes the equivalent of their worth. I'm in overwhelming pain. It must be because they're absolutely irreplaceable. And if they were easily replaceable, I wouldn't be this hurt. I wouldn't be this panicked. I wouldn't be this overwhelmed. So again, your level of torment to you almost becomes the equivalent of how irreplaceable they are. That's not necessarily true, but it feels true. It feels like you've got to do something to get them back because there's not going to be happiness. There's not going to be hope. You're never going to get over this hurt because that hurt can be so deep that it feels like nothing you've ever felt before. Like I've gone through it before. And I've been hit by a car when I was younger. I had a cancer scare when I was younger. I've had a few things that really terrified me. But when I went through a breakup that I didn't see coming, that really just ripped my heart out, that was the more painful thing I've ever been through. So sometimes you can be that high value, intelligent, gifted, even exceptional person, but now you're in more pain than you know how even to put into words. You don't even know how to explain it to yourself, much less anybody around you. So that'll add to the sense that you're broken. Now that you've added to that sense of pain, a sense of brokenness, it's even more undeniable to you that you caused it. Your pain proves that they're irreplaceable and amazing, and you can't be happy without them. And your pain proves to you that something deep inside of you is just off. Both of those things come together and lead you into this motivation to plead, pursue, and this desperate attempt. If they can just know how much pain you're in, then that'll be evidence that you really learned your lesson. If they can know how much pain you're in, that'll be undeniable proof to them that they belong with you. Your pain is evidence of your love. So if you can just convey your pain enough, that'll prove your love. And if you can prove that your love is this, and that you've learned your lesson, they'll come back to you. It doesn't work. Your pain is not evidence of how much you love them. Your pain is not evidence of how irreplaceable they are. Sometimes your pain is just evidence that you're capable of generating that kind of pain. If you're creative, if you're intelligent, if you're full of conviction, if you're full of fire, if you are that exceptional person that feels things to a level most people don't feel things, you're going to feel pain to a level most people don't feel things. Stop looking at your pain as evidence that you broke it, they're irreplaceable, and that you have to get them back, and never stop trying to prove to them how sorry you are. It'll work against you. It makes them forget who you really are, and it makes you forget who you really are. And it's really hard to project strength and remind them of that truest version of who you are that attracted them in the first place, while you're so overwhelmed with pain that all you can project and all you can convey is sorrow, regret, desperation, and neediness, because that's how it comes across. It doesn't mean that you're needy. It doesn't mean that you're emotionally weak. Sometimes your overwhelming pain is evidence that you're actually emotionally strong. It takes strength to feel things to a painful level like that. We just kind of relate to agony and hurt to weakness and brokenness, but that's physical pain. Emotional pain isn't the same. The strongest people I know hurt the deepest when it comes to emotional wounds. It's just sometimes we don't understand that. And we're already so hurt and confused, it all gets lumped into one. I'm a mess. I broke it. I'll never get over this. They'll never forgive me. I caused it. It's my fault. And things are hopeless. It gets turned into that big, massive ball of depression and despair that makes the future just seem unlivable. It's not true. So take a deep breath and have a little bit of hope, okay? If you're in this situation, and the details matter, if I can help, you can find me at realcoachken.com. And if it has been a help, please give me a like, a subscribe, or a share. And thanks for watching.